Hi MBA aspirants, my name is Thomas Guy Scott. I'm the CEO of Tide Changer Consulting and our lead MBA consultant. So today what do I want to talk about? Interviews for MBAs, and in this video I'm going to share with you what hundreds of successful candidates to M7 schools and other top MBAs have done in order to be successful in the interview phase. So I'm sending this video in January, so hopefully by now you will have heard from some of your MBA programs whether you've got an interview or not. So just this morning I was talking to some people who have already got an interview scheduled for Booth, some people who've already had their interviews with Kellogg, and people who've already got interviews for other programs either in the US or in Europe. And naturally, what do they ask me? Tom, how can I best prepare myself to be successful? So here's my experience from the last 10 years of working in MBA admissions. Number one thing to do first is set the interview. So some programs are going to offer you an on-campus option or an online option. In my opinion, both are equally valid, but if you do have the ability to go to the site and actually interview in person, great. It's always a good opportunity to visit the school as well. And some programs will offer you a variety of dates. It's really up to you to choose one that's convenient. And based on my experience as well, I wouldn't say there's any difference between having one on day one and having one on week 3 of the cycle. But I tend to recommend earlier because it means less time stressing about it. Okay, just get the interview done and then sit back and relax and wait for the answer. Second thing is preparation in terms of knowing who's going to interview you. And so some universities, some business schools, let's take Berkeley as a good example, let's take Booth as another example there, they will get a current student to interview you. Whereas other programs, typically Harvard for example, they're going to have you interview with the admissions team. But what you should always try and do is find out who you're going to be interviewing with, okay, and find out what you have in common with them. See if there's any common traits between things that they've studied, their areas of interest, that would enable you to build rapport with them in an interview. So what's the next thing you can do to prep? Well, I recommend you download our MBA guide. This guide I have built working with my team by interviewing hundreds and hundreds of MBA candidates over the past 10 years and asking them, in your interviews, what were you asked and what were you expected to do? Okay, and so you will find some of the most common questions for different interview processes at MBA programs. You can find school-specific ones online, but this is a great place to start looking at things like leadership, management, teamwork, conflict management, and other topics that commonly come up in MBA interviews. And what I recommend you do is go through the guide and look at the questions and bullet point some ideas. Don't try and script your answers. And when you bullet point your ideas, try and think of maybe 4 examples connected to leadership, 4 connected to teamwork. So if you get asked a variety of questions related to those topics, you've got an ample selection of things that you can talk about and an ample set of examples to give. So this is a great starting point. Next step, behavioral questions. It's almost for sure you're going to receive some type of competency-based question or behavioral-based question, the same thing. And the best way to answer these, an example of a question would be, tell me about a time that you led a team, or tell me about a time that you overcame a conflict with someone else. The best way to answer these is using the STAR technique: situation, task, action, and result. And so what that means is you should be able to, in 1.5 minutes at most, be able to explain briefly the situation, the context that you were in, the task you had to achieve or the problem you had to solve. The most important part is the actions that you took, and using action verbs to describe the way you behaved and the things that you did in that scenario, and then of course the result. And why are these questions so important? Well, past actions are a much better predictor of future outcomes than a hypothetical answers. So it's really, really important that you go back through your essays, back through your CV, and start thinking about good examples you can give that enable you to demonstrate the value that you add and the impact that you have. Okay? And so, download the guide, start prepping, do some practice, either recording yourself in front of a camera or getting someone to interview you. I personally do lots of interview simulations with our candidates because the more prep you can do, the easier it is to recall some of the most important points when you get to them. Okay? So, if you have any questions, feel free to reach us in the email below. Always happy to answer further questions and to record additional videos. I hope that these tips that have served successful admits to M7 schools and to top MBAs around the world will help you in your MBA interview preparation. Good luck everyone, and I'll see you in our next video.